Hi everyone, John with Front Range Anglers here today. And today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite go-to rigs with the fall and winter times coming up, and that's just going to be a simple 3-fly inline indicator rig. The main times when I'm going to be fishing this is honestly if I don't see any dry hatches going on, or if I just know that they're kind of eating small emergers or midges during the time. As we talk about this rig, I'll talk to you about how I personally set it up and kind of the reasoning for it. But it's one of my favorite systems to go with. I tend to not use a lot of split shot, so it's a way to actually use natural flies as your main source of weight. And it can be extremely effective in those cold fall and winter days. Alright, so to start off with doing, my preferred indicator rig, we're going to need a few pieces of equipment to basically build the whole thing. Starting off with just our standard tapered leader. I'm just using a, Scientific Anglers 5X tapered leader for that, nothing too special. Then you're going to need some form of strike indicator. I'm just using one of the white airlocks in the smallest size. My favorite color, favorite size. I think it's less intrusive, rides well, good strike detection. I already cut a few sections of Tippet, but generally I'm going to be using anywhere between 5 to 6x Tippet for a lot of my indicator rigs, especially when the temps are starting to get cooler. And then your 3 flies of choice. So I have a flashback hare's ear, a blue poison tongue, and then just a bling midge. Very, very simple, very easy. So to start this all off, first obviously we're just going to unwrap and kind of straighten out our tapered leader. Alright, so once you have this all straightened out, personally what I like to do is I like to add a section of Tippet actually after the end of my tapered leader. And generally that's going to be the piece of Tippet that's going to be going to my first fly, which is going to be my heaviest fly, so the hare's ear. Generally I'm going to do that lengthwise. It'll depend on where you're fishing, of course, but generally I'm going to do that 1.5 times the water depth, just depending on the speed of the river I'm fishing. And generally how I just attach those is just going to be with a triple surgeon's knot. And if you guys don't know how to tie those knots, feel free. We'll probably have videos up on those here shortly, but feel free to just go on YouTube, kind of take a look, but pretty simple knot. Alright, so once we have that connected, this is going to be going to our first fly. So like I said, that hare's ear. The knot I use to attach most of my flies to the actual Tippet is going to be an improved clinch knot. I like it more than just a standard clinch knot. I think it's going to be a little bit stronger. It's going to prevent some breakups. One little trick I like to do to actually tie the knot to make it go by a little bit faster. Once I have it centered, just like this, right and tight, I'm actually going to twist one of my fingers while pushing them together, and you'll see it does those wraps automatically. Might be kind of hard to see on that video, but from there I just pinch the tag, get that loop, get that tag in, put it through the loop, and back through, wet it, cinch it down nice and even, trim off our tag end. Now with this indicator rig, I personally do from eye of the hook to bend of the hook, so just a straight inline system. Some people will tie from eye to eye. I personally just do to the bend of the hook. So yet again, doing an improved clinch knot for that. So I can do the same thing I did when tying to that hare's ear, but I'm just going to do it without the fly in there. So I just twist one of my fingers. It does all the wraps for me. Pinch it, put the tag in through the loop, and finish your improved clinch knot. But the biggest thing is before you fully tighten it down, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to keep some of the slack built up. We're going to then get our bend of the hook from the fly we had earlier, push it through the loop, wet our knot, cinch it down tight, just like that. Makes it go nice and easy. It's one little trick I learned from a seminar, and I've been doing it ever since, so I'm a big, big fan of it. It's a nice little beneficial tip, so I would highly recommend it. So we have our first fly right in line, just like that. And then generally in between my first and second fly, I'm going to be doing anywhere between 12 to 18 inches. Then I'm going to go to my second heaviest fly, which is going to be that, size 18 poison tongue. So I'm going to do the same thing like I did on the hare's ear for this next one. So doing the improved clinch knots on the eye of the hook and the bend. And then for the last piece of tippet going to our final fly, I will generally do anywhere between 10 to 12 inches. So I have that one set up. Then I just simply attach my final fly, trim off our tag. So now we have all three flies hooked up and connected. So we have yet again, and also we'll put on our strike indicator. So like I said, I generally do that kind of right at the point of where my leader is connecting to my actual tippet. Nice thing with these airlocks is you can just slide them to change your depths super easily. So you can just slide them back and forth on the line, doesn't crink anything. So we have our indicator. Obviously this is a little bit shorter just for video purposes, but 1.5 times to our first fly. Then we go to our second fly, and finally our smallest third fly. Generally a small little midge pattern that I like to do. The reason that I like to set them up in a line like this is just because with the weight, a lot of times I don't like to use split shot. I'm not a huge fan of casting or fishing with split shot, so a lot of times that's why I use such a big fly, even in the winter time. Gets my flies down, gets them to ride nice. And that is how I set up my inline 3-fly indicator rig.